Hello and welcome back to the Volume Vegan Cooking Channel. I have made many different kinds of entrees for our holiday gatherings over the years. Admittedly, for the last several, I've purchased vegan roasts from the grocery stores. We have tried several. We liked the tofurkey one. Field Roast has a celebration roast is what they call it. It's amazing. But our favorite is Trader Joe's breaded turkeyless stuffed roast. It's really good. I highly recommend it. But this year, I'm really dedicated to eating gluten-free and to staying in control of what's going into the food that I'm eating and enjoying it all while keeping it light. This is actually the second roast that I've made for this channel this week. The first one that I made was cauliflower based. I used a food processor with some black soybeans, which I'll show you in a little bit, and I put it all together. It was kind of like a big meatloaf, really, but of course vegan and gluten-free, and it was delicious, but it just did not hold together very well. It was a crumbly pile of vegetables. We scooped it out of the pan, and I loved it, but I didn't think that it was something that I felt good about presenting to people who might be looking for something that everyone at your holiday table will enjoy slicing into and enjoying. I saw a new recipe by one of my favorite recipe authors, one of the people that helped me turn vegan Richa. And I will link this recipe actually in the comments. She put out a vegan gluten-free holiday roast recipe this month, and I read over it and I definitely wanted to try it. It looked a little intimidating to me, but I believed I could do it. She didn't even put up a recipe video for it, so I felt like it was something I could try to do. And looking over the ingredients, I decided to adapt it a bit so that it fits what I'm doing, bringing the carb count down and the calorie count down for my own holiday table. So this roast is my adaptation of her roast. Buckle up. This is a fun, delicious ride. So let's get started. All right, so we are going to get started with our roasted vegetables. I am going to stuff my roast with some amazing roasted beets and leeks. I've also got a little extra shredded cabbage in the refrigerator that I don't know what I'm going to do with, so I'm just going to also roast it and put it in the middle of my roast. I'm going to get my beets roasted first because they're going to take longer. So I'm going to preheat the oven to 425, and while I do that, I'm going to clean off the ends, trim off those greens, clean some, scrub the beets so that there's no dirt on them. Not worrying about peeling them. My method really makes peeling them very, very easy. So I just take some aluminum foil and make a little bowl for my beet. I put just a single beet directly down in my little aluminum foil. I sprinkle it with a little sea salt, give it a little drizzle of olive oil, and then seal the beet up in the foil. Once I have them all done, I put them down in a Pyrex baking dish together, and I put them in the oven, just in the middle of the oven, for around 50 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes. Some of them are kind of small, so I checked them around 45 minutes, and they were great. So while the beets are in the oven, I go ahead and get my leeks prepared. Leeks are dirty. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you're not aware, they hold a lot of dirt from their time in the ground. So what I do when I roast them is I cut off all of the thick greens at the end, And then I slice what's left long ways, as you can see on my roasting pan. I just slice them right down the middle, and then I rinse it as good as I can in between all of those layers of the leek. And once I've got them all clean, I just laid them on top of this bed of, I shredded up some cabbage, put it in a bowl, kind of drizzled some oil on it, and put it on my pan. Then I put the leeks down, but I sort of brushed them with a little bit of oil and salted and peppered the whole bit and put it in the oven. I did wait until the beets were finished before I did that, because I just wanted to lower the temperature down to 400 for those, because they're going to cook a lot quicker. I left them in there for about 30 minutes until I saw that, everything was browned. I moved it all around a little bit halfway, got it all browned and cooked down. Once I removed the beets from the oven, I left them in their aluminum foil for a while. I wanted to cool them down before I handled them. So in order to help them cool down, I took them out of that Pyrex dish so that they would be away from all the heat that was held in that glass, and I put them on a rack here just to give them some elevation underneath to help them cool down. And then I opened up the aluminum foil just a little bit to help the heat escape. Now, when you're ready to prepare your beets, you basically, when they've cooled down enough for you to touch them, I find it to be the most easy. First of all, put on gloves, or else your fingers are going to be very pink if you've gotten these red beets. I wanted golden beets, but they were sold out at the store, so we've got these red ones. But basically, you'll just open up your little aluminum foil packet, and the skin of the beet is going to slide off very, very effortlessly. You just need it to be cool enough to be able to handle it. And now we are starting to prepare the roast. While these things are roasting and cooling, I have taken just a block of extra firm tofu, drained it, pressed it as I've shown you in my how to do basic pan fried tofu video, and I will link that in the description so that you know how I press tofu if you haven't learned my towel coupled with cast iron pan pressing method. I will show you that in the description. So I've already pressed it, crumbled it up, added it to my food processor here. And next, I'm going to show you black soybeans. Now, I think right here, just while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to insert a little bit of a chart that is a really good reference for what beans are lower in carbs and calories than others. Of course, beans are a fantastic source of protein. I've eaten a lot of beans, and even now, already on my channel, I've shared hummus and falafel recipes with you because I love chickpeas. I used to eat them constantly, but they're very high in carbs. And that is what vegan Richa used in this recipe. She went for a chickpea, a garbanzo bean, and I knew that I wanted to use that because I know that chickpeas or beans are very, very good at holding together your loaves and burgers and things like that. So I definitely wanted to go with a bean. I even tried to do the same thing in the cauliflower loaf that failed, that I told you about earlier in this video. I used a can of black soybeans in those. Black soybeans are very low carb. They're actually a favorite among the keto community. I'm obviously not keto, but keto is very based on animal products. But I am vegan, and I'm not no carb, absolutely not. I know that we need carbs. Our carbs are energy, but I just want to keep it very low. For me, I don't work out a lot, to be honest. I work at a desk. I don't need huge jolts of starchy carbs and things to get me through things. That's not what I need. So in order to be able to have a bean, but keep it lower, in a lot of my meals, especially this one, there's so many different elements to a Thanksgiving meal, so I just want to keep all of it as low as I possibly can. And black soybeans are the way to go. I have to order them online. I can't find them locally. Unfortunately, the town that I live in isn't anywhere near a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or a place that might have a little bit more variety than But yeah, anyway, that's a whole side story. Black soybeans, low carb, delicious. I use them in chili, and I'll definitely show you that really soon. And so that's what we're using today. Go ahead and drain your beans and rinse them and get them ready to go into the food processor with your tofu. And now I'm going to prepare the little spice mix. Looks like we're going to do 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt. I'm using sea salt. We're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. We're going to do a teaspoon of onion powder. And we're going to add a whole teaspoon of garlic powder. She says 1/2 teaspoon in hers, but you know me and my relationship with garlic. I'm going to use it. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of dried oregano. And I'm making these kind of big teaspoons because in her directions, she says add a teaspoon of poultry seasoning or use more of the herbs below. So since I don't have poultry seasoning, I'm going to add more of the herbs below, including that oregano. So it was a fat teaspoon of thyme, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary, which I crumbled in between my fingers off camera to sort of, I think it's about really activating the flavor in that dried rosemary. As you're going to see, the tofu mixture, it became a very big ball, and it really started to roll around my food processor. I was kind of concerned. It was making a very big ball of dough, it seemed like, which I know I need it to be that. So just allow it to do that. Stop it, scrape down the sides and all of that if you feel like you need to kind of help it along. But I went ahead and blended the spice mix in before adding any of the other ingredients because I felt like I wanted to get those really, really good and incorporated. And now I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And I'm adding in 3 tablespoons of tapioca starch and 3 tablespoons of rice flour to keep it gluten-free. And you can see I've added them in here. I didn't let you watch me do it by the tablespoon. I don't know why. I don't know what I was feeling in that moment, but I did it. And now I am adding a big tablespoon of vegan Worcestershire sauce, which, as I showed you in my grocery haul from this week, the Kroger brand is accidentally vegan. And then we're just going to blend all of that together in the food processor again, making a big old ball of dough that makes your food processor feel like it's going to fall apart. And here's what my dough looks like, all blended together and ready to take out and assemble. Eventually it behaves nicely. You want to get it pretty smooth. I don't think it's a big deal if you have some little pieces of bean or whatever in there. I'm a texture person, but it definitely should form a smooth-ish, sticky dough. And because I am also the cameraman, I am not able to do this in front of you, but this is what it looks like. I lined a roasting pan with parchment paper and spread the dough across it in a thin layer. She says 8 inches across. Looking back, I feel like I went a little thin, a little long on it. It comes out like a very long baguette for me. The next time that I make it, which is going to be on Thanksgiving Day, I will be making it a little bit maybe thicker, shorter on the dough, given what I've experienced having done this already. That's my advice, is to just make a nice, maybe 1/2 inch-ish layer of the dough, spread it out as evenly as you can. I found that it was really easy. There's olive oil in the dough, So once you've got it spread out, and I'll start showing you what it looks like to fill it with the veggies, but I just basically lined the inside with my delicious roasted vegetables, starting with the roasted cabbage and leeks. So I just lined those down the center, as you see here. And I have enough left over that I'm going to just be able to use those in my second roast this week. So I'm really excited about that. So on top of that, you can see that I have already peeled and I've cut up the beets, the roasted beets, into chunks. And I just layered that on top of the roasted leeks and the bed of that roasted cabbage. You know, it's so funny. When I was growing up, and even as a vegan, even as someone who's very open-minded and eats lots of, veggies and tries everything, I still for a very long time held on to not liking lima beans and not liking beets. I really believed I just was not ever going to like them. And then a friend of mine, I was talking to him one day at the farmer's market, told me that I should just roast the beets. Just roast them. And it's delicious. And I was like, are you sure? Because all of the beets I've ever tried taste like dirt. Okay, I'll try them. And I did. I roasted the beets, and he was exactly right. They're so, so good. So if you're just not sure about beets, give them a good roasting and try them. They're really delicious. Loved them in this. So once you've got the beets inside, or whatever your, root vegetables, whatever roasted vegetables you want inside of this thing, I basically just took the sides of the parchment paper and laid the roast on top of it, and then smoothed down the sides with my spatula. Richa says that you can either leave the ends open or closed. She left hers open. I closed mine because I always kind of like those end pieces. That's my favorite part. And so this is what it looks like. It's not that attractive right now. It is not, but that's okay. It will be. It will be. So once we've got it all smoothed out, our oven is preheated, everything is good to go, we're going to go ahead and bake at 385 Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. And while that's getting ready, I'm going to prepare our glaze, because once that 30-minute mark hits, we're going to remove the roast from the oven and give it a glaze before we pop it back in. So let me show you how I prepared it. So I've started with a half a teaspoon of dried rosemary, and again, I've kind of crumbled it between my fingers. That's why you don't see me pouring it in there. And 2 teaspoons of the zero sugar, keto-friendly maple syrup substitute that I use. And then we are doing 2 teaspoons of that vegan Worcestershire sauce, a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, and a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. Mix that together and set it to the side until that 30-minute mark when you pull your roast out of the oven. And then I just used a basting brush to generously baste the entire thing with the entire mixture of that glaze. Then you put that right back into the oven for it to continue to roast for another 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes. I did 20. And then here is my roast. It came out golden and browned and crispy. You can see that it has some little burned edges on it. It's not very pretty plated on top of this parchment in this way, the sort of scorched parchment, but it was very, very hot when it came out. This is what it looked like for me, though. You can see my big baguette-ish roast that I made, and it's wonderful. It's sliced really beautifully. It really, really did. All of the flavors combined it really, really well with the roasted veggies that I chose. I think that the black soybeans did really, really good. I don't know how it is with garbanzo beans, but I think that perhaps these made it a little bit smoother. But it's really, really good. We ate on it for days and days. So at the end of this, here, I'm going to show you what it looks like plated with my other Thanksgiving meal sides. So here we have my plate. I know it doesn't look like much, but you have to keep in mind, I'm totally having that huge helping of the banana pudding for my channel right after this, right? So I've got a couple of slices of my roast here on the plate. You can see those beets, that beautiful, beet filling really, really stands out. I have my roasted carrots. They're already on my channel. And then a piece of that broccoli casserole that is coming up later today. Actually, I'm going to try to get that on the channel. And some cauliflower creamy mashed potatoes with the most savory, delicious mushroom gravy that I'm also putting up for you before the Thanksgiving holiday hits. So yeah, a delicious plate of food, giving me room, not only like in my stomach, but also in my calories budget, for the day when I get to that huge bowl of banana pudding after this. So yeah. This is my Thanksgiving plate, pretty much what it's going to be. I'm making the exact same thing when my family comes to visit on Thursday, and I really, really look forward to sharing this with them and kind of blowing their mind. I've always done sort of, just traditional mashed potatoes, and I've made plenty of, fancy vegan gravies to show them and casseroles and things like that, but I don't know if I've brought a vegan roast to any of my Thanksgiving dinners that I've shared with them that wasn't store-bought. And I know that I've definitely incorporated heavier things like French fried onions and this and that into my meals. So I'm really excited to see how they feel about this kind of lower calorie option and see if they like it. So yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Vegan Richa. She really saved the day. There are a few vegan recipe authors that I love so much. They're so inspirational and influential to me and to, I'm sure, a lot of other people. And when it comes to having an entree that's falling apart on you and you're just like, I don't really know what to do, they're always going to have a guide for you. These people have been working with vegan food for a lot longer than I have, and they know how to make it come together in a way that people are going to enjoy. So she's just such an icon, and I wouldn't have had such a great roast without her. So yeah, let me know in the comments if this is a roast that you think that you're going to try, if you have made it, and definitely share it with anybody that you think would like to make some kind of, big stuffed vegan entree for their holiday table. Subscribe to my channel while you're here and turn on those notifications so that you never miss another one of my cooking videos. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope that you have a happy Thanksgiving wherever you are, and that you have a really delicious, holiday meal plan ahead of you and full of all kinds of amazing things. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to make this broccoli casserole. I'm going to show you how to make these mashed cauliflower and gravy moment. And I'm going to also, I know I've already shown you a banana pudding, but probably on Thanksgiving Day, I'm going to film a pumpkin cheesecake that I really can't wait to share with you guys. So that's exciting. So yeah, thank you again so much, and I will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Bye-bye.